Hey there, are you grieving the potential loss of a loved one or feeling overwhelmed with the loss of someone you care about? If so, you're in the right place. Lisa Hartung here, and this podcast is designed to guide you through topics surrounding death and dying. We'll dive into multifaceted aspects of grief, offering you a blend of personal stories, expert insights, and practical advice for your grief journey. May this be a safe space for you to learn, listen, and ask questions about your own life and loved ones. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Giving Grief Grace. Today, I am super excited to have Ian McCartor on the show again. Ian McCartor is the founder and executive director of the Ash Rose Foundation. And we actually interviewed him last year. And after the interview, I was so fascinated by the Ash Rose portraiture and the 30-day journey that Ian brings clients through that I asked him if I could be a part of it. And so fast forward to today, and this is a really unique episode because Ian has been such a mover and a shaker in this honoring space. So by day, he works with hospice, but also between the time in which I interviewed him first and today, he's been part of a TEDx adventure. He goes to San Miguel, Mexico, and hosts Day of the Dead retreats and events there. He's spoken at the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross Foundation. So Ian is really moving and a shaking. I'm so grateful, Ian, for you taking time to spend the next 30 days with me on my grief journey and to just be willing to share with our listeners who, if there's anyone interested in working with the Ash Rose Foundation on an Ash Rose project, we wanted to give you a behind the scenes sneak peek on what to expect. What does it look like? Sometimes we could be interested, but maybe a little hesitant to ask for more. So we wanted to give it all to you and give you a behind the scenes. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Ian and he can lead us through what this project is. And then Ian emailed me a couple questions to prepare for today. So I've come with my answers. And this is really going to be a conversation about my grief journey. And Ian will be creating a beautiful image of my mom using her ashes. And so I just know that my mom was an artist and this is just totally up her alley and something that she would be beaming for. So thank you, Ian, for joining us today.
Thank you, Lisa. This is such a special honor, just with the work that you're bringing to the world through this podcast and the work that you've done in your own grieving journey. What I really appreciate so much about this particular project, the Ash Rose, is that we work with a spectrum of people wherever they are in their journey. And, some people are holding on to that silent grief for decades, and then some people just lost their loved one yesterday. And to have people like you that have really focused on the potential of the healing, I think this is going to offer a really unique perspective to people through sharing your story. So thank you for having this space to go behind the scenes. I'm really excited because I've never done this with anybody before, as far as recording the process and then sharing it with the community in this way. So it really aligns with our intention with this work to inspire others through this process and not just have it be about the individual in the 30-day program, but what that individual can share with the world and create that beacon of possibility for others who might be interested in a different type of vehicle for their grief. And art is a very special vehicle indeed. And the context of incorporating the ashes is sacred. And so really excited to start this with you and go through these questions and explore this ongoing relationship with your mother and what she's left behind in you and what will come forth in this journaling and discussion and the creation of the art.
Yeah, I just feel her presence so much with us. Like she's in it. She's like, let's go.
I love it. I feel it too. That's the beautiful thing about this. It's like you are stepping into your own relationship within, and the energy of having that surrendered the ash surrendered into the becoming of something, as your grief in its own way will be becoming as well, as this art is also becoming. It's a really powerful combination of elements that, it's very tangible, but it's very spiritual also. Excited to dive in. Thank you for this honor.
Yeah, and thank you so much. And so, Ian, maybe to give listeners a little bit of an insight of how we came about this, like anyone who's interested can go onto your website, theashrose.org, and say that they would like to be a participant.
Right. And so we do work with one person at a time. It's a very intimate project that it's not scaled to multiple people at once. And so that's kind of the beauty of it. And so during this time, anybody who is interested, you're essentially placed on a waiting list, but then you're invited to be a witness to all the participants before you, up to the point where you yourself participate. And that offers every person waiting to learn and to be inspired by the intention to step into this while being present with other people and allowing that relation to your own journey to inspire ideas and consideration and really education. And so anybody who's interested, reach out directly on theashrose.org. Plenty of contact information there to get you in touch. But yeah, it's a very special community, and we all know how important community is
Yeah.
with this work. And isolation is very counterproductive to healing. And you know, we need witnesses. We need understanding people who have the courage to step into that witness role. And it's that beautiful circle of being a witness and receiving others to witness your own healing. It's just this beautiful partnership of growth and
Hmm. And being able to
congruence.
verbalize your feelings and the process of
Hmm.
healing is also so cathartic as well, because sometimes we just, as you said, kind of internalize and not really speak about our feelings to the deeper level, right? Beyond the surface level. Hey, how you doing? So I
Right.
think that this work is so important, especially when grieving. So
Right, and I think incorporating multiple elements, like you've received your journal, your special little Astros journal. You're
right.
welcome to show that to our viewers.
And it's got this
And just
beautiful,
as our little insignia there. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and to just give space to that writing. It's for this intentional chapter, it's a 30-day thing, but it's really condensed into a lot of reflections of that relationship with that person in the past. The first week that we're focusing on from today forward until next week, we'll be reflecting on that past and the memories and digging into the earth of those lessons and the pain that's still there, and just allowing that to be. And it's usually the hardest week of the four. I tried to put
Mm,
that one up front so we could just get there,
rip
put it
that
all on the
Band-Aid off.
table. Yeah, and then that's the material to work with. It's a
Hmm.
metaphor of the medium, and it's this emotional medium that we're gathering to breathe life into this work. And that's where the sketching comes in, and this is where the ideas will start to form from all of this. And it's a very rough type of discovery, and that metaphor carries through in the art as we explore all these things that'll come up for you. And then by the end, through the embracing meaning in the present and then stepping into purpose for the future, um, the clarity that comes from that is reflected in the finalizing of the artwork, and how little by little we clarify and we find detail with curiosity.
Mm.
And yeah, by the end of it, with the grand reveal, it's a marker of time, and it's not the end of the journey, but it's a place that we can celebrate in the journey as a moment of clarification and a collection of all these memories and lessons and intentions that can carry on to the rest of life.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
yeah, so very special stuff. But
what a beautiful experience.
yeah, and it's so special your mom was an artist.
Yeah.
What a cool connection. And I hope someday, because, I'm an artist naturally, of course, with this project, I dream of that too someday. It's just like the baton will be handed at some point down the line, and someone can create with my own ashes for my family. And maybe it'll be a member of my family that takes the baton, like maybe my son. I don't know. He's only a year and a half now, but we got some time to work on him. But just thinking of that generational aspect, it's just like you're honoring your mother's interests even now,
Hmm.
and through that, just that little piece of her legacy of what she was and what she loved, to celebrate her in this way moving forward with this project is so special.
Yeah.
The artist becomes art. It's like,
Hmm.
wow. Yeah, it's just
They become,
incredibly poetic.
yeah.
Mm. Well, without further ado, we can jump into the first beginning question and we
Okay.
can start exploring.
Great.
So, the first question is what emotions or intentions do you hope this memorial artwork will carry for you?
So I wrote, um, I was like, all of them, mom was and is still such a light in our life, and she was always bringing the magic into the day to day. And so joy is something that was always exuding. She ran a business for 38 years, and so people loved coming into the shop and chatting with her, and she just had a bubbly personality, and um, just found the joy in the little things in life and was always looking at the positive. So it's like a lot of love and light and fun.
Yeah. Like whimsy,
Yeah,
kind
she's
of.
definitely very whimsical. She loved her
Mm.
little like, fairy gardens and doing those with the grandkids. So,
Yeah. A dreamer, sounds like.
mhm. She was
Yeah.
always creating, right? And,
Mm.
she's an artist through and through. And so she's looking at the world through this lens of multidimensional, um, mixed media or bright colors. She definitely had rose-colored glasses on. She was like,
Mm.
I am not going to listen to the news because it just makes me sad. So let's
Mm.
just have a good day.
Mm. I love that, ownership of your experience. It's like you are responsible for your life's experience in so many ways, and it's all perspective. And I love rose-colored glasses. It's not a denial of the troubles of life, but it's a choice to be happy. And I've heard from some of the wisest people that I've ever met that happiness is a choice.
It is.
Regardless of circumstance, you can still choose happiness. And that's a very high spiritual goal right there, at the core of it, through suffering, through pain, to transcend into happiness and presence. That's huge. That's a wonderful gift that she left behind.
Yeah. And even through all of her treatment and, near the end of her life, we would try to find one thing that we were really going to do that day. And maybe it was we would sit there and color, or maybe we'd sit there and listen to music once she lost, the ability to draw. Um,
Hmm. Did she draw a lot as she prepared for that last chapter?
yeah, she would sit in her chemo chair and
Wow.
she would always ask to see if she could get a seat near the window because there
Mm,
were lots of chemo chairs.
right.
And so then there's a beautiful garden that she would look out onto. And then she had little travel watercolors that she would bring with her, or she would just bring her sketchbook and then sketch while she was getting her chemo. And then after she ended chemo, we would sit on the back deck at our summer house, which is her happy place in the garden. And she would just be present and be fully immersed in hearing the birds sing and hearing the kids like laughing as they were gleefully splashing in the lake down below. We couldn't see them because the garden was pretty big, but she could hear them. And, we did a lot of art together um, in that last year. Susan Adler, I think that's had like a joyful blooms online course. And so we took it and we were just doing coloring joyful blooms, all different types of joyful blooms. So it
Wow.
was really.
Wow. Fitting that she's now a part of the Ash Rose.
hmm
The
hmm
blooms, it's just wow. And what a powerful meditation, you know. I wonder just, the clarity that she was feeling as she looked out of that window and was looking at life and in this garden and the context of her time
Yeah,
and seeing, like really seeing in that moment. I mean, that's really profound.
yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Wow, I feel that.
hmm
Well, I think that there will be a lot of that in this art, just I mean that's a beautiful reminder, to see with that same preciousness,
hmm
to look at this work and to remember how she took that time to be present with life,
Yeah.
even when her time was so narrow. That's what mattered most, it sounds like, is seeing and being with life and with beauty.
You
And
know,
gosh.
it's interesting, Ian, when you say that she's really seeing and perceiving, because on her birthday this past year, another woman, Trish Riggle, was on the podcast, and she is a medium. And so after I interviewed her, I said, "Hey, Trish, can I do a reading with you?" And she didn't know that it was my mom's birthday or anything, but I was able to connect with mom through that. And mom had said, "I painted my heaven."
Mm,
And I was like, "What?" Like,
wow. Yeah. Yeah. What did that mean to you when you heard that?
and I thought to myself, gosh, mom painted, she would paint with watercolors and she would also paint with acrylics, um, and oils. And but watercolor was her preferred medium. And she made so many beautiful paintings. She would go and paint on plein air on the coast of Maine. She grew up on the coast of Maine, and so
Mm,
she would go on these ladies' artist retreats for weeks in the summer. Um, and she would go to all of these different locations and paint these just stunning vistas. Uh, and so I wonder when she said that, like I painted my own heaven, what was that to her? Which
mm,
one? They were
mm.
also so beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Choosing to embrace that heaven now,
hmm
to find that joy of living and this experience of being alive, not waiting for some day in the future to be happy or to experience bliss, but discovering it now. And
hmm
she had the artist eye.
She did.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share for that question?
No, I think that was really it for that part of
Mm.
the question.
Yeah, yeah. Then the next one, how would you like this piece to support your healing journey?
And I think, we talked about this, Ian, and we have throughout the months of this piece being a symbol of the legacy that mom left behind and also just her joy for life. I just see a lot of light and a reminder of what an impact, a positive impact she made in the world and how she's, how she's part of the garden. And that's that full cycle of life and how she's been returned to the garden to make beautiful blooms in the future. And so
Mm,
when we look at it, we want to be able to see mom's, essence reflected in that.
beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to see some of her artwork. I think that that'll be very inspiring for this, just to witness her heaven and
Mhm.
and let that teach this other artwork that's coming from her. So very special. Wow. I love it. I really, this is just this is so profound.
The unique lady.
Yeah, sounds like it. She continues to be.
Mhm.
Well, I think, in regards to this next question, we did touch on the garden, but are there any other specific symbols, imagery, or themes that feel meaningful to you in honoring your mom? Like nature, animals, celestial elements, abstract forms, things of that nature.
Yeah. So when mom was in the final stage of her life, um, we had a lot of conversations, and she said, I'm going to come back as a regal eagle. And
Wow.
she was kind of like, a regal eagle.
A regal eagle.
We were like, okay, mom. You know?
Wow. I love it.
Um,
Mm,
so there have been so many eagle sightings. And like eagles in North Carolina, bald eagles in North Carolina are just not as prevalent.
mm,
Um, and my mom shows up for my husband all the time because my husband is like not into the woo-woo, not into the connection of the other side. He's just like
mm,
they pass away and they're gone. And I'm like, okay. So mom's trying to break that barrier, but um, so she wanted to come back as a regal eagle. And when part of her bookstore was she got the book Linnea and Monet's Garden, which when I was a kid, um, she had the book and like the little plush doll in the children's section of the store. And she
mm,
bought it because as an artist, she's always loved Impressionism. So
mm,
that was a big part of her, learning journey and studying the masters. And so Monet was one of her famous artists, as I think Monet is many people's favorite artist, but
mm,
she ended up drawing or painting a whole water lily scene on my classroom wall and doing a whole like curriculum with the classroom all about Impressionism. And so these water lilies were there until they bulldozed the building down just like maybe 5 years ago.
mm.
And so it was
Wow.
so cool that she painted that when I was in second or third grade. And that beautiful water lily painting was there through it all for kids to enjoy. And so I think about, the joy of watercolor in the garden, at creating art, being with the blooms. And, um, we grew up at our summer house. It's called a camp in Maine, on a lake. And so dragonflies or,
Mm,
all I always, whenever I see a dragonfly, I think of my mom. Uh,
mm.
like hit hearts hidden in nature, that's really big. And
Hearts, you
even
said?
hearts,
Hearts. I love
like
that.
we'll see one and my daughter will be like, Mimi is here. Look, there's
Oh,
a heart from Mimi. And
yeah.
so it's just such a sweet reminder of mom. When we see our heart rocks, she and I always collected heart rocks. And so I have quite a collection, and much to my husband's dismay, I've got heart rocks everywhere. Um,
All over the house, I'm sure.
they're, they're just
As it should be.
little spots of joy throughout the house. So heart rocks were big. And then many people say that when a loved one passes, they come back as a cardinal. And
Mm,
so I see cardinals more often in North Carolina than I would a bald eagle. And many people have found cardinals and given them to me to say, hey, I'm thinking of your mom. And
mm,
and in Maine, a bright red cardinal is something that's so profound when we
mm,
see it. And mom loved birds, like loved birds, all types of birds. She had bird feeders everywhere, trying to get, she probably had 12 different kinds of birds that would come to the garden every season. And they loved hummingbirds. And so my dad's really carried that on, but birds were
mm.
always her thing. So um,
Beautiful.
it's just fun to see little or hear birds chirping. And I remember going for a walk once when I was on the phone with her in the spring. And Maine winters are very long. Like they don't end really till April. And
Oh,
so in
wow.
North Carolina, daffodils start coming out at the end of February, beginning of March. So we get the spring bird chirps. And so I was on the phone with her and she goes, "Oh, I can just hear the birds chirping and I just love that." And I'm like, I didn't even notice. I was out for a walk and I was like, "Yeah, it's a nice day out. I'm gonna, take you for a walk with me." So just being in nature, right? And the cardinals and Monet's garden were always just special things. The water lily, she did watercolors of water lilies, and she painted some water lilies for my daughter's wall. She painted a triptych. Um,
Oh, beautiful.
yeah. So those are some things that when I see them, I think of mom, or when I hear of them, I think of mom. So,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, very special. All life, just love and life, just these manifestations, these little messengers that you can continue to receive every day, all the time. Just whatever your perspective is, woo woo or not woo woo or whatever you call it, it's something that brings that memory of that person close. And that connection is the important part that, you know, is received in so many different ways from people on different levels. And I think openness is so important and that creative curiosity, especially in grief. I mean, in all of life, but there's so much we don't know, you know?
yeah.
So
Mhm.
much we really don't know about who we are and who we are, deeply are,
No,
beyond this
our
thing.
soul.
Yeah, yeah, the eternal, the lasting. And I love to reflect on that a little bit based on the influence of that person also. That lasting element of everyone that was touched by that person and bringing that back to life, bringing that forward in speech and action and sharing and new creation. It's such an important thing that honors the lesser known mystery of who we are. It's like
Mhm.
the mystery finding manifest in us and what that looks like in relationship to another person who's passed away as someone who was a physical manifestation for a time and gave of that life force to the world and to everyone they knew. And then for that life aspect, the mortal aspect to
Yeah.
disappear, dissolve, and to become ash, essentially.
Mhm.
And and to just really celebrate the responsibility of manifesting that in life and honoring the mystery of what is waiting to be manifested in us. And
Mm. Mhm.
yeah, I love all those symbols that you mentioned. They're so powerful.
Yeah,
Just nature is so
I
so ever present.
it is. And that's where she loved being out in nature. And another thing that was part of her life's passion was helping kids with literacy.
Hmm.
And so before she started the shop, she was a fifth grade reading teacher. And she was always, bringing us to the library and making sure kids were able to read and contributing to, we lived in a small town. So, making sure that everyone had an opportunity to read and felt like they had that. So we've done a lot of advocacy for reading in her
Hmm.
passing. But yeah, I'm thinking of her reading a book in the garden, right?
Hmm.
Like,
On a little bench by the pond or something, maybe.
yes.
I love that.
Heart rocks at the
Yeah.
floor of the bench, I'm just all the things.
It all comes together. Yeah, that's what's so nice about just the talking about this because it tends to just come together, and in our imaginations as we reflect on these visual elements and their significance, they just kind of weave into this window. And yeah, I'm already seeing it. It's great. It's a lot of life in that little window.
Yes.
Eagles and cardinals and hummingbirds and dragonflies and daffodils and lilies and a pond and a bench and a woman reading a book with some heart rocks around. That's
Yeah.
Boom.
She planted 1,000 bulbs of daffodils and tulips
Wow.
the winter she was diagnosed because she didn't know if she'd be alive in the spring.
1,000.
And so and I'm telling you, it was at the end of the season. We went to all, like the Lowe's, the Home Depot. We went to every store that we could.
Cleared them out.
And we just covered our summer house and the summer house rental. We have a rental right next to it, and we just covered them in bulbs. And so thankfully she was still with us that spring and so was able to see all of them. And then she passed that fall. So that next spring was just, it's always a really hard time for me when I see them, the
Mm.
daffodils and the tulips bloom, because I think about that time with mom. Like she was so sick, like on her hands and knees going in, and she
Mm.
wrangled dad and I to help her plant all of these bulbs. But again, right? It's just such a sign of even amidst darkness, there is this light and
Mm.
there's new life.
And that you can still choose to plant seeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Seeds of legacy.
Wow. And what timing that we're finishing this and presenting this portrait at the end of February,
hmm
beginning of March, like right then where you said the winter ends in Maine, at least. Interesting timing, always is. Always. Gosh.
Always.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and this next question is, I'm already kind of seeing what could be part of this, but are there any colors, tones, or visual styles that resonate with the emotions that you want this piece to convey?
Yeah. So I know that the ash drawings are black and white, or essentially shades of black and white. Her favorite color was turquoise, so she would have turquoise and like a royal blue everywhere. She would paint chairs at camp so that they were those colors. And she's just bright, cheerful. She'd always do like little whimsical designs when she was painting on the chairs. And then she was
Hmm.
a watercolor artist, so I
Hmm.
don't know that like aesthetic of watercolor, but
Right, the Impressionist movement.
Mhm.
Yeah, just that like elusive type of form and the suggestion of life. Yeah, I totally see that. And what we do, because the artwork itself is pretty strictly black and white with the dash and the charcoal. I trim the frame with color at times, so it gives this like subconscious illusion of certain colors within the drawing because of the association of the mat. And so we can definitely incorporate the royal blue and the turquoise into that, and that'll just lead the eye and the mind to like see colors where there's none. And I really like that even better than explicitly putting that on there because it forces you to look and let go and let these things just kind of arrive. And I love that metaphor too.
Yeah. So
Noted.
I'll have my dad send you a picture of one of the pieces of furniture that she
Oh
painted
yeah,
because
absolutely.
that was those are like her colors through and through.
Great. Yeah, that'll be a great reference. Thank you.
hmm
What are some words or phrases that best describe your mom and your relationship with her?
Oh my gosh. Love, joy, happiness, silliness, sisterhood. I said Bobbsey Twins because that was one of her favorite books growing up. And so we were just always doing stuff together, her and I, like getting into trouble, connection, art, creativity. Um, we just loved laughing, playing games to like card games together. She played solitaire every single morning. When I am missing her, I play solitaire. And I'm like, okay, mom,
Mm.
show me a win if this is a yes.
I love that. What a beautiful irony there.
Yeah.
The word solitaire, the singular, but you do that to connect with her. Ugh, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, there was just this, I guess modern day would be Gilmore Girls. And she had me at 33, so it wasn't like we were close in age at all, but I had my daughter at 33. And so it
Really?
was like history repeats itself. And my
Wow.
daughter is a mini me, and I was a mini mom.
Wow.
So,
That's so great.
and she was diagnosed when the first week that my daughter was born alive, and she died a day before my daughter's first birthday. So, um, she was very much a part of my daughter's first year. So, that love, joy, happiness, the light, the silliness was all part of mom.
Hmm. Sounds like a woman of timing, very significant little periods of time with
Yeah,
all this.
she was late to everything.
Except that. That's
Yeah,
okay.
except they
She's more of a big picture gal, right?
but she was always a well, I wouldn't say she always broke the rules, but when it came to like authority, she was a rule follower. And so when she was diagnosed and given 12 months to live, again, like my daughter was born on Monday, she was diagnosed on Friday, and then she died almost 12 months to the day that they
Hmm.
told her she'd have 12 months to live. So that was just
Oh,
maybe it was divine timing, I don't know, but
hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, rule
Yeah.
follower also. A rule breaker. Yeah, she didn't take life too seriously, which is a
Yeah.
good thing.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I think when you cling to certain things too much, you miss out on seeing the panorama. If you're too
Yeah.
myopic, it seems like she really had kind of a horizon perspective on a lot of things.
hmm I could learn from the horizon perspective that's a good one.
Mm, yeah, I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Is there a favorite memory, place, or object that holds a special meaning and could be woven into the artwork?
Yeah. So the garden at our summer house, the camp, and even so she'd play solitaire, and where she played solitaire every morning at camp, she could look down onto the water and the sun, when the sun comes and it like sparkles on the waterfront. So
Hmm.
that was like her ultimate joy is when she saw the
Hmm.
sun dancing along the top of the water. But tulips, daffodils, water lilies, Monet's garden was always such a big, part of we were always going to go there together after she painted that
Hmm.
on my wall in third grade. And we kept on
Wow.
saying, yeah, we'll do it, we do it. And then we did plan it, but then COVID happened. So she never
Mm.
got there physically, but well, she never got there spiritually. Physically, she is there because we did plant her in Monet's garden. But
Hmm. Yeah,
so
that's pretty profound as well. Just literally a part of the garden.
she's she is there and she was like fully with my mother-in-law and I that day that we spent
Mm.
in Monet's garden, just sitting and being and
Yeah.
thinking of different areas of the garden that she would really enjoy. And we always loved playing poo sticks. Um, I don't know if you ever read
What
Winnie
are
the
those?
Pooh. It's like Winnie
Oh,
the
yeah.
Pooh and Roo go and they drop a stick on one side of the bridge and then they run to the other and see whose stick is first.
That
Like
rolls down?
yeah, it flows down with the river. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
played poo sticks with her ashes.
Oh, that's
Oh
precious.
gosh. But yeah, so that was like the fun that every time we were on a
Whimsy.
walk, she would
Yeah.
poo sticks. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, flowers. So I definitely her happy place was in the garden at camp.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it'll be nice to reference Monet's garden and then your family's garden and just find some moments within both to weave into this new garden.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun. We do have a back cove at camp. She named it Dokie Cove because that's her. Doke was her maiden name. But there are water lilies that bloom there. So she's painted them many times, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Just to have reference of Monet's garden and your family's garden and just allow those to inform each other to create this new garden.
The
Mhm.
eternal garden.
Yeah. The heaven now. I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's a very special place. Been there myself, and I took my mom there. Actually, our first time in France, our first castle retreat we did. We
Oh,
all went to Monet's garden after the castle and just enjoyed that beautiful place. And yeah, it's a very special place.
yeah.
So close to home, also personally.
Yeah, it's it's a great corner of the world.
Hmm. A lot
Very,
of beauty.
yeah, and a lot of just light and positive energy.
Yeah, yeah, and appreciation for for the aesthetics of the experience.
Mhm.
Just the beauty of life. Well, wonderful. Next question is, how do you feel about the physical incorporation of the ashes into the piece? Would you like them to be subtly blended or any elements visibly present in the artwork? It's just a matter of preference, really.
Yeah, I was thinking both. I mean, think about the different, I think in any garden, there's so many different textures. So
Mm,
I think that you could really have free reign and, is she part of the water and
mm,
like the texture of the water, or is she part of the bushes?
mhm,
Or is she in the sky, right? Is that the
mm.
blended part where she's in the sky and then her texture is part of the garden? So,
I love that. Yeah, because all of the artwork will have the ash medium. And so the way that the ashes are blended, it's processed with charcoal powder into a really fine dust. And so they're blended to where they're literally combined. And then all of the tone in the artwork that you see will have elements of the ash in it, not specifically visible, but it's within the medium. And so I really love the idea also of taking some of the more direct ashes into the texture of the garden. I think that that'd be so beautiful because it is a different experience when you see it and you notice the actual ash. And some people, which is totally fine, prefer just to see the artwork and know that the ash is in there, but not be essentially like noticing the ash itself. But then some people are like, absolutely, I want to see the ash. I want to know that it is ash. And that just has a different relationship to be explored. And so with
yeah.
this, I think that'd be really perfect to have both in there.
Yeah.
The
I think,
textures of life and the
Mhm.
relationship, it is diverse, and you know, I think that that's a beautiful reflection.
Yeah. So she'll be in it, you know.
Right. Yeah, well, I'll be listening. That's the beautiful thing with this artist to artist. I think this is going to be really interesting dialogue as these things are created.
Hmm.
I'll be listening. She'll be a part of this input, I know.
Hmm.
Would you like the artwork to reflect a sense of transformation, connection, or continuation in some way? I'm sure
Yeah.
yes to all, but just curious on specifics.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. You know, when you see uh, like the heavens open and there's like a sunbeam down
Mm,
from the sky.
yeah.
I don't know how you incorporate that without fe making it feel cheesy, but it's like a portal, right? Where you can
Mm,
connect with the other side, or at least I think about that. Like I always think about like, oh, they're saying hello from heaven, or the sparkling on the water, right? That's mom's
mm,
magic. I don't know, it doesn't need to show transform. I mean, I think a garden within itself is just a really great symbol of life and regeneration and regrowth, especially after dark periods, and then
mm,
showing light. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, that's already in my mind as far as how to illustrate that where it would be more reflected in the terrain of the water and the light on the water and then like the luminescence of the flowers as they're blooming, where it wouldn't have to necessarily be like a beam of light from the heavens, but like I think I like the metaphor too of like that light is reflected in what it illuminates
Hmm.
and really like seeing that in the life itself could be illustrated really nicely. So I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in terms of like connection, I was trying
Hmm.
to think of, how to incorporate the kids. She loved her grandkids. She met three, and then we had Brody last year. So she
Hmm.
never got to meet him while she was on Earth. She's definitely very present in his life. Um, but yeah, I don't know if we, what I was thinking of, like, how do you put connection with the grandkids or with my dad or my sister? And so I don't know, maybe there's,
Something we could explore as an idea, if you wanted them depicted in the portrait, that's a different relationship, that, but there's also what we could explore is the symbolism of how that number of those people or that grandchildren can be reflected with the intention in the artwork. For example, it was actually a dear friend of mine that passed away, but I worked with her three daughters with her ashes to be created into that remembrance piece where she had um, a number of grandchildren that were reflected in the sunflowers in the artwork. And so the number of sunflowers was represented as the number of the grandchildren that were there. Although they weren't literally drawn and depicted in the artwork, they were
yeah,
symbolized. So we
I
could
love
explore
that.
that for
Yeah.
sure.
And that's, part of the bulb, the the
Mhm.
bulb frenzy. She did all of the grandchildren's initials in the garden. Like she spelled them out with the bulbs. So
Oh,
each
wow.
grandchild got their own plot.
Beautiful.
So that would be cool to represent them by the flower.
Hmm. The daffodils specifically,
Yeah, she did paper
and the tulips.
whites, daffodils, tulips, and then is it hyacinth? I think there were some hyacinths in there too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, let's explore that. I think that'd be really meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah. Just put it all in, Ian.
Just
Okay.
just everything. Put it all in there. This flower, this plant, this.
Yeah, right.
Of course. Well, that's the joy of this. It's like it can be infused with so many different things that each have a meaning and
Mhm.
so different than a photograph, or just a copy of a face. That's what makes this portraiture so rich, is there's just layer upon layer of meaning. And
Mhm.
there's power in that, and there's connection in that, really. Like, um, it's interesting to hear people's relationships to this piece as time goes on after. And you spoke of like that portal of connection, and some people sit with this work and just pray and talk and let it be that engaging point that just evokes so much of these memories and lessons and convictions and hopes and like openness. That it's a really powerful piece. The one that we're working on now, the daughter was excited to receive it as like a form of like a talisman, she put it.
Ah.
And I never heard it described as a talisman before, but that's a pretty loaded word, and I think I think that the more that you put into something like this and open yourself into as it's being created, sustains the meaning as it goes on in life, and it increases its function. It's a point of closeness, and it's so different than just here's a picture, copy it and send it back. This is the intimacy is everything. So I'm already feeling it's going to be such a strong connection for you and your mom, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be pretty layered.
I could
Absolutely.
just picture my mom telling you, giving you directives. Like,
I'll be
no, Ian, do
listening.
not put that there. I think it might be best over there. What do you think about this, Ian? It's just
I'll be like, let's try it. Sounds great. Let's try it. Let's try it. And that's it. That's the creative process. There's always these moments that whisper through. I mentioned that piece before with the butterfly and the orchids that I did for that daughter who lost her mother, and the number of orchids and number of buds that were completely unplanned just came out, and it was the number of children and grandchildren that were in the family, and it was like had no idea. We didn't even talk about that until after the composition was done. And it came up, and I'm like, I'm just curious because this kind of came up when it was happening, and you know, it wasn't really revealed that that came through until the day of the portrait presentation, and that just
Wow.
exploded the meaning of that piece for her. You know, she just felt like her mother was there through that
Yeah.
moment, and it's these messages. Yeah, so I will be listening for direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. Words from Emily.
Hmm. Yeah, there will be a log, I'm sure.
Yes.
Log of those words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she loved beavers. That log we used to go. Yeah, we
Hmm.
had beavers in our, but I don't know if beavers in the garden really go, but she was also a beaver, and that was her alma mater's mascot.
Cute.
Yeah.
Cute. She gave a damn, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Gotta love puns. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, this next question I already, Monet, of course, but are there any particular artistic inspirations or references you'd like to share, like photos, specific artworks? I'm sure she's got so many, um, or personal items.
Yeah. So Monet's garden is one of them. I'll get you a picture of the gardens at camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lake. That was just so much of her happy place. Um, and I'm thinking, yeah, the personal items, I'll send you a picture of the chair, the whimsical
Mm-hmm.
chair, or the hutch that she painted, the turquoise. I think those could work.
Great. Yeah, great. Um, is there a kind of bench or something like that that would have a meaning? Like if we had her sitting tucked in there reading a book, maybe the daffodils gathered around or something would be really special. Um, maybe if there's a particular kind of bench or if there's something from your garden that we could incorporate that would be really specific, we could use that as well.
Yeah, I'll write that. They got mom and dad had an anniversary bench, a wooden
Mm, perfect.
bench that they had in their garden.
Yeah, there it
Just a
is. We'll use
standard
that.
wooden bench.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. But I would love to match it. I'd love
Yeah.
for that to be in there and, everything with significance for sure.
Get the bench. Yeah, and then some of her paintings so that you can see kind of what her style was like. She painted a picture of me in her garden when I was little, and it's one of my all-time favorites. I brought it down after we had our celebration, her celebratory birthday party of she didn't get to live till she was 69. She died about a month before, but we had a birthday party. And so I brought
Yeah.
it back home. And Dad, we did a whole like salon for her celebration of all of the
Hmm.
paintings. And people were like, I didn't know she was such an artist.
Wow.
She had people
Some,
from all different parts of her life. And so some
yeah.
people just didn't know. And they were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, these are incredible. And so I took
Yeah.
that one home, and Dad goes, I was putting all of the paintings back and I can't find you, Lisa. Like, where'd you go? I was like, oh, I took that one, Dad. You told me I
That one's
could.
mine now. Well,
Going on
I'll
my
share
wall.
this. This is coming through really, really strong. Perhaps you're the one on the bench reading the book.
Mm, yeah, with mom on my shoulder.
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah, Lisa in Monet's garden.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a whisper there. I'll let you know right now. Like I think that meaning of you being in her garden, of her, she is you and she is part of you, and we could even depict it in a way where it doesn't explicitly represent you, but it could even represent your daughter later in life and like this generational intention of being still and sitting in nature and like sitting in that beauty and sitting in heaven as it is on earth and being in that moment and hmm,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And she always had she always wore this special the gardening hat, which I have never seen, but I saw while we were there in the gardens that day.
Hmm.
And someone had called out, "Where's Emily?" And I saw the hat walk by and I was like,
This was in Monet's?
yeah.
Whoa, that's interesting.
So I'll send you a picture of the gardening hat.
Yeah.
It's turquoise.
Wow, interesting. Beautiful sign. Hmm.
So, because then that could be mom, that could be my sister Jenny, that could be
Mhm.
me, that could be my
Yeah.
daughter Maeve, or my sister's daughter Gwen. So
Hmm.
wearing
Yeah,
Mimi's hat.
I love that. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, cool.
Wonderful. Yeah, okay. Well, last question. Is there anything else you'd like to express that could help shape this piece?
No, I just wrote joy, garden, sunlight, and hope, right?
Hmm.
It's that
That,
eternal hope of whenever you can ground yourself in the garden or outside, it's so just such a magical experience. And your feet on the ground, it's hard to beat it. And when you're out in nature and just fully breathing in the fresh air and the earth, and you can hear the birds, and it's just such a magical place.
full experience. Yeah, and I just could imagine that in that last chapter of her life, she really felt the the soil on her and between her hands as she planted those bulbs, and she really heard those birds, and she really saw those the light on those flowers, and she really felt the warmth of the sun, like the intensity of that experience. And it's available.
Yeah.
Like that intensity is available to us all always. But the context of preciousness and that brevity and that limit to this physical experience is it's a powerful meditation, and it's always waiting. And I feel like that's a huge message with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited, Ian. I'm writing down these things, but it's not until we verbalize them and like chat about
Mm,
them that it really comes to life and
absolutely.
um takes on a whole new meaning. So,
Hmm.
what a gift.
Yeah. Well, your mother is a gift. Thank you for bringing her forth and sharing her with me and just, with everyone listening to this moment. And so much beauty there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And so for listeners, this is the first session, and then I will be journaling each day, and then we'll meet once a week, right?
Right. And so kind of going from that motif of verbalizing and like
Mm,
all the writing throughout the week will be shared, one question at a time in our session next week, and then we'll explore that. And other things always come up, and then it brings it to life in a different way. And then that also informs me, verbally and emotionally and spiritually about other things that can be breathed into this artwork. And as it's being spoken and explored through you, it's being created over here in Southern California until it flies across the states to to be reunited at the end of February. So yeah, it's a very special process.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm thinking it would be really cool for you to see Biltmore blooms in
Mm,
Asheville, but I don't know when they open, but that is a very incredible garden show
wow.
at the Biltmore. So that I did take mom to. So
Maybe we can explore locations for the presentation then.
there we go.
A garden, maybe. Hmm.
That seems fitting.
Yeah.
Duke Gardens in North Carolina.
In Asheville. That's sounding pretty good to me. Too
Yeah,
many
right.
little signs. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Emily. Yeah.
Oh, too funny. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for your time. And I hope listeners kind of got, you can take these things and think about your own experiences and your own loved one and see how you could honor them or think about, signing up to be a participant with the Ash Rose. So thank you again, Ian, for your time. And I'm looking forward to continuing on this journey and bringing a whole new part of mom's life to light through this work and through this journey. So thank you.
Um,
So
Thank you,
grateful.
Lisa. As am I.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. If you found the content interesting and think it could help a friend or a loved one, please share it with them. Subscribe to this podcast and get a weekly dose of positivity. And while you're at it, please leave a review. If you enjoyed the show and want to support me financially on my grief journey, I'm raising funds for Project Purple, a nonprofit whose mission is to see a world without pancreatic cancer. And I'll leave a link to my fundraising page in the show notes. If you've lost a loved one and are looking for support in an online community, consider joining our free private Facebook group, Giving Grief Grace. May you be kind to yourself in the week ahead and give yourself grace. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.